With the conclusion of the 2024 NFL season, the Philadelphia Eagles are officially crowned world champions. In Super Bowl 59, they dismantled the Kansas City Chiefs by a score of 40-22. Despite still winning the game by 3 scores, the game was even more lopsided than what the final numbers illustrate. Before kickoff, a massive storyline being discussed was the Chiefs' bid for the first ever Super Bowl three-peat. Led by quarterback Patrick Mahomes, many people were debating what this would mean for his legacy. At just 29 years old, Mahomes was off to arguably the greatest start in NFL history. The 2-time MVP and 3-time champ was already being hailed as one of the top few QBs to play the game. With a win in Super Bowl 59, people were seriously considering putting him next to or even above the great Tom Brady. However, what we would learn is that these debates would be quickly put to rest. Mahomes had arguably the worst game of his entire career as the Eagles' defense shut down every aspect of his game. If you look at the stats, it appears that Mahomes didn't play that poorly, but the game tells a whole different story. After being down 10-0, he threw 2 crucial interceptions that took away any chance of gaining momentum for the Chiefs. One being a pick six to Cooper DeJean, and the other within his own 10-yard line. In the blink of an eye, Casey was staring at a 24-0 halftime deficit. To showcase just how rough of a first half it was, Kansas City's offense had the ball 7 times and only accumulated 1 first down. All of these drives either resulted in a punt or an interception. Mahomes' first half wasn't bad for just his standards, but any player's period. As the second half started, more of the same continued. Kansas City punted on their first 2 drives, while the Eagles added another 10 points. Finally, with 2 minutes left in the third quarter, the team crossed over midfield. Yeah, it was that bad. Patrick was rattled all night and chose the worst possible time to have arguably the worst performance of his career. With Patrick walking away from the game empty-handed and at the heels of a second Super Bowl blowout, many people have put the GOAT debate to sleep. But were we having these discussions prematurely? And does Mahomes' performance signify that he's officially eliminated from GOAT contention? For starters, I do believe the discussion between Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady were being had far too soon. In today's culture, we are always searching for the next big thing and far too quick to anoint someone as the greatest at their respective position. Hence, we tend to forget or overlook the game's past legends. I mean, public opinion wouldn't even give Tom the GOAT title over Joe Montana until he won his 5th Super Bowl, yet people were ready to give Mahomes the crown at just 4. Sure, the three-peat would hold a massive amount of weight given its historical importance, but the fact remains the same. Additionally, this debate was centered around an almost 2.5-decade career compared to a man in his 7th season. Patrick is absolutely incredible, there's no doubt about that, but let's not get too caught up in the current moment. It's simple. As it stands right now, Tom Brady is the GOAT and will be for quite some time at the very least. His resume, longevity, and achievements all speak for themselves. The 3-time MVP holds the all-time record in basically every passing metric there is. He is number 1 in terms of career passing yards, touchdowns, completions, quarterback wins, and Pro Bowl selections. He's one of only 2 players to ever win a unanimous MVP and is one of only 3 QBs to throw for 50 touchdowns in a single season. What about the postseason? Well, when the stakes get higher, he just gets better. For starters, his 35 playoff wins are more than double of any other player in more than 27 NFL franchises. His clutch DNA is only further highlighted with him holding both the postseason record in terms of most fourth-quarter comebacks and game-winning drives. As impressive as a resume as this is, I haven't even began to touch on the Super Bowl yet, which is where legacies are ultimately defined. In his staggering 10 Super Bowl appearances, he has walked away with the Lombardi Trophy 7 times. That total is not only more than any other player to play the game, but more than every NFL franchise. On 5 of these occasions, he was awarded MVP honors for his efforts, which is also an NFL record. And as you've probably guessed by now, he too holds the all-time record in terms of career passing yards, touchdowns, and completions on the game's biggest stage. Additionally, he holds the single-game title for most completions, most yards, and largest leg comeback by a quarterback in a Super Bowl. It's simple. The brighter the lights, the better he performs. And we can talk head-to-head too. In 2018, Brady became the oldest QB to ever win a Super Bowl at 41 years old. En route to capturing his 6th ring, he led the Patriots to a thrilling 37-31 overtime win against the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. The quarterback on the other side, Patrick Mahomes. 2 years following this game, Tom Brady and the New England Patriots parted ways. He joined the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a team that had finished the prior season below 500 and turned them into Super Bowl champions. At the ripe age of 43, he beat out his previous record of both oldest QB to hoist Lombardi and to win MVP honors. If that wasn't enough, this also solidified him as the only quarterback to win a Super Bowl MVP on 2 different teams. With this ring, he proved to everyone that he could win without Bill Belichick. Oh yeah, and the squad that he beat in order to accomplish these feats, Patrick Mahomes' Kansas City Chiefs. When it comes to the Super Bowl, no one has quite ever done it like Tom and maybe ever will. So, what can Mahomes do now, if anything? For me, I do believe Mahomes had his best chance last Sunday to put a real stake in being the greatest by the time it's all said and done. A three-peat has never been accomplished before, and it would have set him apart from every other QB to play the game. As a result of this, in the eyes of many, he wouldn't have needed to win 7 championships to earn the top spot. As long as he kept up his elite play throughout his 30s and added on another championship or two, the GOAT spot would surely be his. The three-peat was his best opportunity to earn that title, and he most likely won't ever have that chance again. However, I don't believe that Mahomes eradicated every single chance of being the greatest last Sunday. In my opinion, he is the single greatest quarterback talent to grace the field and has been the best player in the league since his first season starting. Can he become the greatest? Yes. Will he, though? That's the real question. Through their first 7 seasons, their accomplishments are nearly identical, and I'd argue that Mahomes has had the better start. At 29, they have the same amount of rings, but Mahomes has him beat in terms of MVPs, Super Bowl MVPs, and has put up the far better stat line. To further emphasize this, here's a chart featuring some of the best to ever play the game, and how both Patrick and Tom stack up through the first 7 years. On one side, you can argue that Mahomes is ahead in the stat category due to the fact that he plays in a far more pass-heavy league, but on the other, you can argue that Brady wasn't even the main catalyst behind the Patriots' first 3 championships. As previously mentioned, a key factor in why Tom is the greatest is his insane longevity. Throughout 23 years, he amassed a catalog that doesn't even seem real. If Mahomes has any hope to catch Brady, he'll have to continue on this trajectory for the next decade. However, with the advancements in training and medicine, I believe this is possible. At his current pace, it'll take roughly 12.5 more seasons for Mahomes to catch Brady in terms of yards, touchdowns, and completions. If he were to do this, not only would he become the new all-time leader in these categories, but he will have done it in 3 less seasons than Brady. Now, the accolades are another story altogether, but let's not forget that Tom went a whole decade without winning a Super Bowl. Through what I've witnessed so far, I can't envision 15 having that type of drought. Up until this point, his worst seasons consist of overtime losses in the AFC Championship game. The man has set a whole new precedent for greatness. The fact that him losing a Super Bowl in an attempt for a three-peat is considered damaging to his legacy speaks for itself. Another factor that will forever be brought up in the GOAT debate is that Tom Brady is 2-0 against Patrick in the playoffs. However, I don't think this instantly disqualifies him from ever being able to pass him. Michael Jordan is 0-6 in playoff games versus Larry Bird, yet anyone you talk to will tell you that Jordan is the better player. Furthermore, Eli Manning is 2-0 against Brady in the Super Bowl, but you don't hear people claiming he's the greatest. As it stands right now, Tom has played far better when it matters most. Through 5 Super Bowls, Mahomes already has more interceptions than Brady had in his 10. Tom not only had the better resume in these games, but the superior stat line as well. Patrick's performance in Super Bowl 59 is very reminiscent of Magic Johnson in the 1984 Finals. To this point, both players had luxurious starts to their careers, both were statistical anomalies, and both were the driving forces behind their respective dynasties. They also both now have a historically bad performance on their game's biggest stage. In the 1984 Finals, Magic's Los Angeles Lakers were up against Larry Bird and the Boston Celtics. Johnson's play in this series was uncharacteristic to say the least. He was committing costly turnovers, missing clutch free throws, and even dribbled out the clock in a pivotal Game 2 rather than taking the final shot. For the first time in his career, Magic looked shaken. Sound familiar? Because of this, the Lakers fell to their arch rivals in 7 games. Johnson's poor performance in these contests were so bad that he even earned the nickname Tragic Johnson. However, he erased all the criticism by responding the best way possible. Magic came back the next year, leading his team back to the NBA Finals for a rematch with the Celtics. Through elite play and determination, his contributions helped avenge the team's loss from the season prior. Then 2 years later, Magic once again led his team to victory over the Celtics and even hit the game-winning shot in a pivotal Game 4. His performance allowed him to rid the stigma around his name and completely change the narrative that he was a playoff choker. Mahomes desperately needs to have a similar bounce back, and I think he will have the chance to do so. With a few dominant performances and a couple more rings to his name, the narrative will swing in the other direction, just as it did for Magic. He still has his entire 30s ahead of him, and before Tom had led his Patriots to beating the Seahawks in Super Bowl 49, there were serious discussions if he'd ever win the big one again. It's crazy to think about this now, but that's how narratives work. Following this win, he went on an absurd run and won another 3 Super Bowls. Brady completely flipped the script and proved to everyone why he's the greatest winner to ever play the game. Ultimately, it's up to Mahomes to capitalize on these moments when they come. As we've seen in years past, injuries, salaries, and egos can completely derail a team and set them back from competition. Patrick has been fortunate enough so far to have a competent team around him, but will that always be the case? How will he perform without Travis Kelce? What will his play look like when Reed is no longer calling plays? How will his game adjust when his athleticism starts to deteriorate? Only time will tell, but regardless of how it plays out, I believe we are in for a real treat. Considering everything mentioned, Tom's career is one that is almost impossible to beat and just might be. However, if there is anyone who can catch it, anyone who can surpass him, it is number 15 for the Kansas City Chiefs. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for similar content. Let me know down below in the comments if you agree or disagree with my take. Do you think Mahomes can still become the greatest? If so, what will it take for you? Until next time, peace.